Bangkok, Thailand, August 19, 1972. Lumpinee Stadium, 9:12 in the evening. The body kick landed so hard that the challenger folded before his feet left the canvas. His right arm dropped across his ribs. His left glove reached for the ropes and missed. He fell to both knees. The referee stepped between the fighters before the count reached 5. The stadium erupted. Bruce Lee watched from the third row. He had come to Lumpinee as a guest, not as a fighter. His black jacket rested over the empty chair beside him. He wore a fitted black long-sleeve shirt, dark trousers, and black shoes. He had spent the evening watching feet, hips, shoulders, and the small movements that arrive before every strike. He had said almost nothing. The man who had thrown the kick was not the world champion. He was a young contender fighting on the undercard. The world champion stood near the red corner, waiting to enter the ring for the official presentation. His name was Suriya Vichai, 31 years old, 5 feet 11, 178 pounds, short black hair, a broken nose, a pale scar beneath the left eye, lean shoulders, dense legs, and the kind of balance that made every movement look smaller than the damage it produced. Suriya had not fought that night. He was fresh. He had arrived to receive a championship honor before the main event and to speak to the crowd. That mattered later. No one could say if fatigue decided what happened. Suriya climbed through the ropes while attendants helped the defeated challenger away. The announcer raised the champion's arm. The crowd stood. Suriya accepted the applause without smiling. Then he looked past the front row. His eyes stopped on Bruce. Several people noticed. A journalist turned in his chair. A trainer followed Suriya's line of sight. The noise in the stadium changed. Suriya spoke into the microphone in Thai. The promoter sitting beside Bruce leaned closer. He asked if you are Bruce Lee. Bruce kept his eyes on the ring. Tell him I am here to watch. The promoter translated. Suriya listened. Then he looked directly at Bruce and spoke again. The promoter hesitated. What did he say? Bruce asked. He says men have been calling you the fastest fighter in the world. Bruce waited. He says speed looks impressive from a chair. A few men near the ring laughed. Suriya continued. The promoter translated more quietly. He says a fast hand means nothing after a shin reaches the ribs. The crowd approved. This was Muay Thai ground. Suriya lifted one hand and pointed at Bruce. He asked why the fastest man in the world is watching other men fight. Bruce stood. The laughter ended. He did not look angry. That unsettled the people closest to him more than anger would have. Bruce said, "Tell him I came to learn." The promoter translated. Suriya answered immediately. He says then learn from inside the ring. The crowd rose again. Bruce removed his jacket from the chair and handed it to the promoter. Ask him whether he wants a demonstration or a fight. The answer came before the translation was finished. If you climb through the ropes, the promoter said, he says it is a fight. Bruce stepped toward the aisle. Officials moved quickly. The stadium manager spoke with the referee. Suriya's corner agreed. Bruce agreed. The rules were simple. Bare hands, kicks, punches, knees, elbows, and clinch allowed. No attacks to the eyes, throat, or groin. No strike after a man was clearly down. Victory by knockout, referee stoppage, or surrender. The officials ordered a short medical check for both men. Suriya's pulse was steady. His hands were dry. His legs were loose. Bruce's breathing was calm. At 9:39, 27 minutes after the undercard ended, both men entered the ring. The waiting did not slow the story inside the stadium. It sharpened it. The crowd had spent every minute arguing about the same question. Could speed survive one clean Muay Thai strike? Suriya wore dark red Muay Thai shorts, red ankle supports, and no shirt. Bruce remained in black. The contrast was immediate. The champion looked built for impact. Bruce looked built for movement. The referee brought them to the center. Suriya stared at Bruce's lead leg. Bruce watched Suriya's hips. The referee stepped away. The champion did not need the challenge to protect his reputation. He already owned the room. 29 victories, 17 stoppages, 3 successful international title defenses, no loss inside Lumpinee in 5 years. He had faced taller men, heavier men, faster men, and men who arrived promising to change the sport. All of them had eventually been forced to stand where Muay Thai wanted them to stand, in front of the shin, inside the elbow, under the knee. Suriya did not challenge Bruce because he needed attention. He challenged him because he believed the claim about speed insulted the place. To Suriya, speed without impact was decoration. And Lumpinee was where decoration disappeared. The referee checked the ropes one final time. The stadium manager stepped away from the apron. Suriya rolled both shoulders, then stamped each foot once against the canvas. Bruce did not bounce. He settled into a narrow stance and let his lead hand float between them. The crowd grew quiet enough for the men in the front row to hear the canvas move beneath their feet. The fight began. Suriya took the center without rushing. His hands stayed high. His elbows stayed close. His weight rested lightly over the rear leg. Bruce stood at an angle with his lead hand extended. Suriya tapped the outside of Bruce's thigh with a quick low kick. It was not meant to finish anything. It measured distance. Bruce answered with a straight lead that landed clean on Suriya's mouth. The champion's head moved back half an inch. The crowd reacted. Bruce was already outside the return line. Suriya stepped forward and fired a harder low kick. His shin slammed into Bruce's lead thigh. The impact turned Bruce's leg slightly inward. Suriya followed with a right hand toward the chest. Bruce parried and moved left. Suriya cut him off. The champion's first real body kick came without warning. His right shin crashed across Bruce's lower ribs. Bruce raised the forearm, but the kick still moved his body sideways. The sound filled the ring. The crowd roared. Suriya saw the effect and came forward. Bruce stopped him with a full contact side kick driven straight into the hip. The heel landed clean. Suriya's advance stopped at once. Before the champion could reset, Bruce stepped in and drove a vertical fist straight punch into the center of his chest. Suriya's upper body jolted backward. Bruce exited on the outside angle. 2 clear hits. One stopped the legs. The other moved the body. Suriya nodded once. The contempt in his face disappeared. He attacked with a left hand high and a low kick underneath. The kick struck Bruce's thigh again. Bruce answered immediately with a sharp, straight lead to the nose. Suriya's face snapped back. A thin line of blood appeared at one nostril. Bruce followed with a short hook into the right side of the ribs. The punch landed under the elbow. Suriya's body tightened. Bruce moved away before the counter elbow arrived. The stadium grew louder. These were not touches. The attacks were landing. Suriya walked Bruce toward the ropes. He used his lead hand to occupy the eyes, then drove a left kick into the body. Bruce stepped inward, reducing the full arc, but the shin still hit the side. Suriya closed into clinch. One hand pulled behind Bruce's head. The other controlled the arm. A knee drove into Bruce's outer thigh. Another rose toward the stomach. Bruce turned enough to take it off center, but the strike still forced air from his chest. The crowd shouted for Suriya to continue. The champion pulled down for a third knee. Bruce planted his left forearm inside, created one narrow line, and smashed a short full contact punch into Suriya's liver side. The champion's elbow dropped. Bruce hit the same target again. Suriya's grip loosened. Bruce turned free and struck the jaw with a hard palm heel on the break. Suriya's head snapped sideways. He gave one involuntary step. Bruce did not chase wildly. He reset in the center. The champion touched his jaw. Suriya did not repeat the same entry. He lifted the lead knee and drove a front kick into Bruce's stomach. The sole of the foot landed clean and pushed Bruce backward one full step. Suriya followed immediately with a right elbow toward the temple. Bruce leaned outside it, but the elbow passed close enough to move his hair. The champion turned the missed elbow into a left knee aimed at the ribs. Bruce dropped the forearm and took the strike across the guard. The impact still moved him toward the ropes. Suriya believed he had found the right sequence. Front kick to move the body, elbow to close the eyes, knee to punish the escape. He tried it again. This time Bruce did not give him the first step. As Suriya raised the lead knee, Bruce drove a stop kick into the standing hip. The champion's front kick died before extension. Bruce stepped down and hammered a straight lead into the face. Suriya's head snapped backward. A second punch struck the sternum. Then Bruce hooked a compact kick behind the champion's lead calf. Suriya's foot slid across the canvas and his shoulders tilted. He recovered before falling, but the crowd had seen the base move. Bruce changed stance for the first time. His right side came forward. Suriya paused. The angles had changed without warning. Bruce drove a right straight into the body, then whipped a left side kick into the outside of the thigh. Both strikes landed. Suriya's elbow dropped to protect the ribs. Bruce switched back before the champion could organize the return. The action looks simple from the seats. Hit the body, break the leg line, leave before the elbow arrives. But the timing forced Suriya to solve a new stance in the middle of every exchange. The champion stepped forward and threw a left hook to the body. It landed hard against Bruce's right side. Bruce exhaled sharply. Suriya added a right elbow across the shoulder and tried to turn into clinch. Bruce trapped the entering arm for half a second, struck the ribs with a vertical fist, and drove his forehead beneath the champion's chin to deny posture. A short palm hit the chest. Suriya was forced out of his own clinch. Bruce finished with a straight side kick to the abdomen. The heel landed deep and sent the champion backward again. This time Suriya did not nod. He simply reset and stared. Now both men understood the danger. Suriya could damage Bruce with one heavy strike. Bruce could interrupt him before that strike became complete. Suriya changed rhythm. He stopped showing the kick early. He stepped behind the jab and waited for Bruce's hand to return. When Bruce's lead came back, Suriya fired a short right elbow over it. The point of the elbow cut across Bruce's cheek. Blood appeared immediately. The stadium exploded. Suriya followed with a knee to the body. Bruce absorbed part of it and moved out. The champion pointed to the blood. "My world is sharp," he said in accented English. Bruce wiped the cheek with his thumb, then looked at the blood. And slow enough to see. Suriya came forward hard. Bruce attacked before the champion's rear foot planted. A low-line side kick smashed into Suriya's supporting thigh. The leg buckled visibly. Bruce stepped through with a straight lead that landed directly on the face. Suriya's head snapped backward. Bruce added a compact body punch beneath the sternum. The champion's breath broke. Then Bruce pivoted away before the right elbow could answer. 3 clean attacks, 3 visible reactions. The crowd rose. Suriya did not retreat for long. He fired a heavy round kick at the body. Bruce moved outside the worst of it. The shin passed across the front of the black shirt instead of the ribs. Suriya's momentum carried him half a step beyond center. Bruce drove a hard side kick into the champion's exposed chest. The heel landed square. Suriya was thrown backward 2 full steps. His arms spread for balance. The stadium gasped before it roared. That was the attack the spectators had been waiting to see. A clear Bruce Lee side kick. Full contact. The champion moved by force, not surprise. Suriya planted his feet and came back with anger. He slammed another low kick into Bruce's lead thigh. Bruce's legs shook. Suriya followed with a left hook and a right elbow. Bruce slipped the hook, but the elbow grazed the shoulder. The champion entered clinch again. This time he locked both hands behind the neck. A knee drove into Bruce's stomach. Bruce folded slightly. The crowd surged forward. Suriya pulled for another knee. Bruce stepped across the champion's lead foot and jammed the hip before the strike formed. He drove a short punch into the ribs, then another into the solar plexus. Suriya's hands loosened. Bruce snapped a back fist across the cheek on the exit. The strike landed clean. Suriya's face turned with it. Bruce followed with a stop kick to the hip that sent the champion back towards center ring. The exchange changed the crowd again. They still supported Suriya, but they could see Bruce winning inside positions where Muay Thai fighters were supposed to own the fight. Suriya slowed his feet. He began waiting. Bruce circled. The champion wanted the intercept now. Bruce showed the lead hand. Suriya did not react. Bruce stepped closer. Suriya launched a right kick at the body. Bruce jammed the hip with his lead knee and drove a straight punch into the face at the same time. The punch landed first. Suriya's nose bled more heavily. Bruce shifted outside and struck the ribs with a short shovel hook. The champion's elbow dropped. Bruce immediately whipped a low side kick into the outside of the supporting leg. Suriya stumbled 1 step and caught himself. The old trainers near the ring stopped shouting. They were watching the feet now. Bruce was not merely hitting faster. He was arriving before the champion's structure became strong. Suriya recognized it. He changed again. He abandoned the long kick and drove forward behind compact punches. A left hand hit Bruce's shoulder. A right struck the chest. Suriya stepped into an elbow. Bruce leaned away, but the edge of the strike cut the black shirt near the collar. The champion continued and trapped Bruce against the ropes. A knee hit the outer thigh. A second knee struck the lower ribs. Bruce's back touched the top rope. Suriya loaded another elbow. Bruce moved before it launched. He drove a straight lead directly into Suriya's mouth. The champion's head snapped back. Bruce followed with a brutal side kick into the midsection, the heel buried into the body just above the hip. Suriya was thrown away from the ropes. He stumbled 3 steps and touched the canvas with one glove to keep from falling. The referee moved closer. The crowd screamed. Suriya stood immediately. He had not been knocked down by the rules, but everyone had seen the effect. Bruce stepped away from the ropes. The cut on his cheek was clear. His lead thigh was red and swelling. The ribs beneath the black shirt had taken real damage. Suriya's nose bled. One side of his body tightened with each breath. His lead leg had begun to stiffen. Neither man looked untouched. That made the fight stronger. Suriya motioned Bruce forward. "Come closer." Bruce did. They met in the center. Suriya threw a jab. Bruce parried it and drove his straight lead into the chest. The champion absorbed it and launched a low kick. Bruce checked part of the kick, then stepped down into a hard punch beneath the ribs. Suriya's body folded slightly. Bruce snapped a palm heel into the jaw. The head turned sharply. Then Bruce drove a low side kick into the knee line and moved out. Suriya's balance broke in 4 different places: chest, ribs, jaw, supporting leg. The sequence was fast, but every impact was visible. Suriya answered like a champion. He did not panic. He attacked the damaged thigh with another full-power low kick. The shin landed clean. Bruce's leg almost folded. Suriya drove in with a knee toward the body. Bruce turned, but the strike still caught the side. Then the right elbow came over the top. Bruce blocked most of it with the forearm. The force still knocked him sideways. The crowd roared for the champion. Suriya pressed. Bruce gave ground for 2 steps, then stopped. Suriya loaded the rear kick. Bruce saw the hip turn. He stepped inside the arc and drove a full-contact straight punch into the center of Suriya's chest. The champion's breath exploded from his mouth. Before the kicking leg returned to the floor, Bruce struck the supporting thigh with a downward side kick. Suriya's base collapsed. Bruce hit the face with a short, straight lead. The champion staggered toward the blue corner. Bruce followed with a hard body punch that landed under the right elbow. Suriya folded at the waist for the first time. The stadium stood. Suriya walked out of the corner with both elbows tight against the body. He had stopped giving Bruce the ribs freely. That defense opened another target. Bruce stepped in and drove a straight punch into the forehead. Suriya's head rocked back. Bruce struck the chest with the rear hand, then snapped a low kick into the inside of the lead thigh. The champion's knee turned inward. Suriya answered with a right hand that landed against Bruce's cheekbone. Bruce's face moved with the punch. The crowd roared. Suriya followed with a hard left body kick. The shin struck Bruce's arm and ribs together. Bruce was driven sideways. The champion charged to finish the sequence. Bruce planted. A stop kick buried into Suriya's hip. The forward rush stopped. Bruce's straight lead landed on the mouth. A rear hand smashed into the chest. Then a short hook drove beneath the right elbow. Suriya's body bent around the punch. Bruce stepped outside and struck the back of the lead thigh with a low kick as the champion turned. Suriya stumbled toward the ropes. He spun back with a left elbow. Bruce ducked beneath it and drove a shoulder into the chest. The champion hit the ropes with his back. Bruce did not crowd into the elbow range. He stood 1 step away and attacked with the weapon Suriya could not answer from the ropes. A full extension side kick crashed into the center of the chest. The ropes stretched behind the champion. His entire upper body was thrown backward. When the ropes returned him, Bruce met him with a straight lead to the face. Suriya's head snapped to the side. The referee moved closer. Suriya raised one gloveless hand to show he was clear. Then he stepped away from the ropes under his own power. The champion had survived the strongest sequence of the fight so far, but he had not escaped the message. Every time his stance became predictable, Bruce's heel or fist arrived directly on the target. Suriya began attacking the damaged lead leg with more discipline. He stopped trying to finish with one kick. He touched the thigh first, then again. The third low kick landed across the same swelling. Bruce's leg dipped. Suriya stepped in with a knee to the body. It landed clean and folded Bruce enough for the crowd to see. A short elbow followed and opened the cut on Bruce's cheek wider. Blood ran toward the jaw. Suriya pressed him toward the neutral corner. Bruce's breathing changed. The champion saw it and attacked the body again. A right kick struck the forearm and ribs. A left knee landed against the hip. Then Suriya reached for the full clinch. Bruce allowed one hand behind the neck. He struck before the second hand could close. A short uppercut drove into the center of Suriya's body. The champion's mouth opened. Bruce hit the liver side with a hook. Suriya's elbow dropped. Bruce turned beneath the loose arm and slammed a palm heel into the jaw. The head snapped upward. A side kick to the hip finished the escape and threw Suriya back toward center. Both men stopped for one breath. Bruce's cheek was bleeding. His lead leg was damaged. Suriya's ribs were marked. His nose continued to bleed. His lead leg had begun to drag slightly after every turn. The fight had become exactly what the challenge promised. Speed under real power, power under constant interruption. Bruce did not waste the opening. He stepped left and drove another side kick into the chest. The heel landed square. Suriya crashed backward into the corner pads. The ropes shook behind him. Bruce stopped outside elbow range. Suriya raised both hands. The referee watched closely. The champion pushed off the corner and attacked with a desperate right elbow. Bruce slipped outside it. A straight lead struck the nose. A short hook dug into the ribs. A palm heel snapped the jaw sideways. Suriya tried to clinch. Bruce stopped the entry with a side kick to the hip. The champion was thrown backward again. 4 more attacks, all clean, all full contact. Suriya's legs remained under him, but his breathing had become loud. The crowd could hear it between shouts. The champion moved towards center because he did not want to be trapped near the ropes again. Suriya knew he could not allow another long sequence. He changed the fight one last time. He began throwing single attacks with no follow-up, forcing Bruce to guess whether the second strike would come. A low kick landed, then nothing. A jab touched the chest, then nothing. A front kick pushed Bruce back, then Suriya waited. The broken rhythm slowed Bruce's counters for several seconds. The champion used that pause to drive a right elbow into Bruce's guard and a knee into the body. The knee landed solidly. Bruce's back touched the ropes. Suriya loaded another knee. Bruce struck first. A straight punch crashed into the nose. Blood sprayed lightly across Suriya's upper lip. Bruce turned the champion's shoulder and stepped off the ropes. A hard kick struck the inside of the lead thigh. Suriya's stance opened. Bruce drove a side kick into the exposed ribs. The heel landed exactly where the earlier body punches had accumulated damage. Suriya folded and took 2 steps away. Bruce followed with a straight lead to the face and a rear hand punch to the sternum. The champion was forced back to the center. The crowd was no longer waiting for a single magical movement. They were counting clear impacts: the face, the chest, the ribs, the supporting leg. Bruce had made every target part of the same problem. Bruce let him come. Suriya began using smaller feints. He wanted one final clean body kick. He showed the jab. Bruce stayed still. He shifted the lead foot. Bruce did not react. Then Suriya exploded into the rear round kick. The hip turned completely. The shin traveled toward the ribs with enough force to finish the fight. Bruce moved at the first turn of the waist. He stepped inside and across the line. His straight lead crashed into Suriya's face before the kick reached full power. The champion's head snapped back. The kick slid past Bruce's body. Suriya landed out of position. Bruce smashed a low side kick into the supporting thigh. The leg buckled. A vertical fist punch drove into the sternum. Suriya's chest jolted backward. A short hook buried into the liver side. The champion folded. Bruce finished the sequence with a full contact palm heel to the jaw. Suriya's upper body snapped upright and turned. He staggered across the center of the ring. The crowd screamed. The champion tried to plant his feet. Bruce gave him no complete reset. A stop kick struck the hip and froze the next advance. A straight lead landed on the mouth. A side kick drove into the midsection. Suriya was thrown backward and dropped to one knee. One hand touched the canvas. The other wrapped across his body. The referee moved between them. Bruce stepped back immediately. The count began. At 4, Suriya looked up. At 6, he put one foot beneath him. At 8, he stood. His legs were not steady. The referee asked if he could continue. Suriya raised both hands. The fight resumed. The champion walked forward because that was the only answer he accepted. Bruce waited at center ring. Suriya threw a short left hand and reached for clinch. Bruce intercepted the chest with a straight punch. The impact stopped the body. A low side kick struck the damaged lead thigh. The leg folded. Bruce stepped in and drove a final hard side kick into the chest. The heel landed clean. Suriya was thrown backward onto the ropes. The ropes caught him, then returned him forward without balance. Bruce met him with one controlled palm heel to the jaw. Suriya dropped to both knees. The referee waved the fight off. The stadium erupted. Bruce lowered his hands. He did not celebrate. Suriya remained upright on his knees, breathing hard, one hand on the canvas. He had landed the low kicks. He had cut Bruce's face. He had driven knees into the body. He had reached the ropes in the clinch. Nothing about the danger had been false, but Bruce had forced every major attack to begin under interruption. Suriya rose without help. The referee stood between them until the champion nodded that he understood the stoppage. Then Suriya walked toward Bruce. The stadium quieted. The champion spoke in English. "You were not watching the fight." Bruce answered, "I was." Suriya shook his head. "You were watching what happened before the strike." Bruce said nothing. Suriya touched the blood beneath his nose. "I thought speed was only movement." Bruce looked at the champion's lead leg. "Movement is the part people notice." Suriya followed his eyes. "What should they notice?" "How early the decision arrives." The champion looked toward the center of the ring where his final kick had missed. "I hit you clean." "Yes." "I cut you." "Yes." "I reached the clinch." "Yes." Suriya looked directly at him. "Then why did I always feel late?" Bruce answered, "Because you tried to finish movements I had already changed." Suriya let the words settle. Then he extended one hand. Bruce took it. The crowd stood again. This time the applause was not for a champion or a visitor. It was for two men who had made the argument visible. The ring announcer tried to speak over the crowd, but no one listened. Journalists pressed toward the apron. Some wanted the official result. Others wanted the exact number of clean strikes. The old trainers did not care about either question yet. They were arguing about the supporting leg. One insisted the fight change when Bruce first stopped Suriya's hip. Another said the decisive moment was the side kick from the ropes. A third pointed to the body punches and said the champion's power had faded because breathing had become work. Suriya heard them. He climbed onto a stool in his corner and let the doctor clean the blood beneath his nose. He did not look embarrassed. He looked occupied. The fight had given him a problem he could not dismiss. Chevalier returned Bruce's jacket. Bruce put it on carefully because the ribs hurt when he raised the right arm. A reporter asked whether he had proven Jeet Kune Do was superior to Muay Thai. Bruce stopped. "No." The reporter waited for more. Bruce looked toward Suriya. "I proved that a complete weapon can still be interrupted before it is complete." Another reporter asked whether Suriya's style was too rigid. Bruce shook his head. His style was not the problem. What was? He trusted the successful answer longer than the moment allowed. Suriya heard that too. He looked across the ring and nodded once. The next morning, Bruce visited Suriya's training camp. There was no crowd, no announcer, no ceremony. Only heavy bags, pads, ropes, and fighters working in the heat. Suriya wore simple training shorts. The bruising along his ribs had darkened. His lead thigh was stiff. He did not hide either injury. He brought two younger fighters onto the mat. One threw a body kick against the pads. The impact was strong. The fighter admired it for half a second. Suriya stopped him. "That half second is expensive." The fighter looked confused. Suriya pointed toward Bruce. "Show him again." The fighter kicked. Bruce stepped near enough to demonstrate the opening without striking. He touched the supporting thigh before the hip completed its turn, then placed two fingers at the chest line. The younger fighter froze. Suriya nodded. "That is where I lost the ring." Bruce shook his head. "No, that is where you kept trying to own it." Suriya studied him. Bruce continued. "You expected the full movement because it had worked on everyone else." The champion looked toward the heavy bag. "My kick was strong enough." "Yes, my timing was not." Bruce nodded. Suriya made the younger fighters begin again. This time he did not allow them to admire any strike. After every kick, they had to recover under pressure. After every elbow, they had to move before the answer. After every knee, they had to expect the opponent to remain dangerous. Suriya did not abandon Muay Thai. He sharpened the part he had trusted least, the space before impact. Suriya asked for the exact sequence that had dropped him. Bruce refused to repeat it as choreography. "The sequence worked because of what you chose," he said. Suriya pointed to the center of the floor. Then make me choose it again. They stood several feet apart. No crowd watched. No one kept score. Suriya raised his hands and shifted weight onto the rear leg. Bruce did not attack. The champion moved the lead shoulder. Bruce remained still. Suriya began the hip turn for the body kick. Bruce stepped in and stopped before impact. His lead fist rested 1 inch from the face. His front foot had already reached the supporting leg. Suriya looked down at the position. Bruce stepped away. Again! Suriya tried a faster entry. This time he disguised the kick behind the hand. Bruce touched the arm aside, moved before the hip completed its turn, and placed the heel against the standing thigh. Again, no force. Again, the answer was already there. Suriya reset. Again. They repeated the problem 12 times. Suriya changed the hand, the angle, the height of the kick, the rhythm before the step. Bruce did not win every exchange. On the 7th attempt, Suriya touched the body with the shin before Bruce fully entered. On the 9th, he trapped the lead arm and reached clinch position. Bruce nodded after both. That is better. Suriya frowned. I touched you. Yes. And you approve. I approve that you changed the question. That answer mattered more to Suriya than praise. He had spent years perfecting weapons until men feared the result. Bruce was asking whether the weapon could survive a changing problem. The champion called the younger fighters back. He made one attack with the body kick, while the other tried to interrupt the supporting leg. At first, the drill looked ugly. Men collided. Kicks died before extension. Hands arrived too early or too late. Suriya did not clean it up for appearance. He wanted the confusion. He wanted his fighters to feel what happened when an opponent refused to wait for the complete technique. One young fighter complained that the drill ruined his form. Suriya stepped in front of him. Your form is not ruined. The fighter looked down. Suriya continued. It is being asked whether it can live. Bruce watched from the wall. He did not smile. The champion was not copying Jeet Kune Do. He was doing something more difficult. He was allowing his certainty to be tested without surrendering his identity. Before Bruce left, Suriya handed him a pair of worn Thai pads. Not as a gift for display, as an invitation to strike. He braced the pads against his chest. Show me the kick from the ropes. Bruce set his feet. The side kick landed with a deep crack. Suriya was driven backward across the floor, even though he expected it. The younger fighters shouted. The champion recovered and raised the pads again. Harder! Bruce kicked a second time. The impact moved Suriya farther. He lowered the pads and looked at the distance between his feet and the starting mark. That is not only speed, Bruce answered. It never was. For the next month, Suriya changed one part of camp training. Every fighter still kicked the bags, still worked knees in the clinch, still hardened the shins and repeated elbows until the movements became natural. But after every successful combination, another fighter attacked immediately from an unexpected line. No admiration, no pause, no assumption that a clean strike had ended the exchange. At first, the champions in the camp disliked it. They were used to knowing when they had won a moment. Suriya forced them to continue until the position was truly safe. He stood beside the ring and repeated the same sentence. The opponent does not care that your last strike was beautiful. When Suriya returned to Lumpinee for his next title defense, the crowd watched for damage from the loss. They expected hesitation in the rear kick. They expected him to protect the lead leg. Instead, he looked more patient. His challenger tried to rush after blocking a body kick. Suriya recovered without admiring the strike, changed angle, and met the rush with a short elbow. The challenger fell against the ropes. Suriya did not celebrate. He moved before the man recovered. After the stoppage, a reporter asked what had changed since the night with Bruce Lee. Suriya answered in Thai. The translation appeared in the next morning's paper. Power is not complete when it lands. It is complete when the next answer cannot take it away. Weeks later, men at Lumpinee still argued about the fight. Some said Bruce's sidekick had decided it. Others said the straight lead had disrupted Suriya's breathing imbalance. The old trainers talked about the supporting leg. The younger fighters remembered the palm heel that turned the champion's head. Everyone remembered the same larger truth. The strikes were not hidden. They landed clearly. The champion felt them. The crowd saw the result. The people who had laughed when Suriya pointed toward the third row remembered something else too. Bruce had never asked for the challenge. He had not entered the stadium looking for a champion to embarrass. He had come to observe. But once the question was made public, he answered it in the only place Suriya considered honest. Inside the ring, under full contact, with every strike visible. Bangkok, Thailand. August 19th, 1972. Lumpinee Stadium. Bruce Lee entered as an observer. The world Muay Thai champion pointed at him from the ring and challenged the idea that speed could survive real power. Suriya Vichai was fresh. He was dangerous. He landed low kicks, body kicks, knees and elbows. He cut Bruce and drove him to the ropes. But every time he tried to build the full force of Muay Thai, Bruce attacked the moment before completion. A straight lead snapped the head back. A side kick moved the body. A stop kick froze the hips. A low-line attack broke the base. A body punch stole the breath. Nothing was vague. Nothing depended on a story told afterward. The attacks landed in front of everyone. Suriya had said speed would disappear when the shin reached the ribs. Instead, he discovered that the most dangerous speed was not how quickly Bruce moved. It was how early Bruce arrived.